Hail and welcome, fellow pagans and witches. This is my Roman honey bread recipe. Just keep watching. Hello and welcome, viewers. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make my Roman honey bread recipe for devotionals on the altar to any goddess you choose. So you could use this traditional, yeast and flour mix. We will not be doing that today, but this is more than welcome. Today we'll actually be using a cornbread mix, some quinoa, bay leaf, and honey. Now, to make this as cheaply as possible, if you're a witch on a budget, you can get these three ingredients, the cornbread mix, the quinoa, and the honey, from the local Dollar Tree. You don't even need the quinoa, right? I'm just using that for extra decoration and meaning. The bay leaves you can find seasonally, but I recommend your local botanica, bodega. Even your grocery store will have this for maybe $3 maximum here in the US. Then of course you're going to need your mixing bowl and your Dutch oven, or whatever sort of baking apparatus you so choose. The most important thing is that your intention is present while touching these ingredients. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm doing now is I'm just putting my Dutch oven empty into the oven so that it can actually get hot. This way when we put the bread in the oven, it'll get a nice crust. Okay, so my oven is on to the directional settings. This cornbread is in the bowl. So what I'm going to do now is just put some intention into it, and I'm going to do that for every ingredient. Okay, now the directions for this batter ask for eggs. We will not be putting eggs into our cornbread mix because, first of all, we are not eating this, and it will bond just fine without the egg, okay? It does ask for milk, so we will add that. But what we are going to do is actually add some quinoa. We're going to add quinoa because this bread in particular is being devoted to, whatever goddess you choose. It could be oatmeal, but quinoa is specific to this goddess in particular. It's just old enough, ancient enough to be relevant. Okay, and I'm putting my intention. Just some instant oatmeal would be fine as well. Don't feel pressured. I'll make more than one recipe for you guys. Okay, and I'm just getting the quinoa mixed in there. Okay, and a third handful. Okay. And this will be absolutely lovely in a garden. Next step we're going to add is some honey. Just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just eyeball it, and as it's touching the oats, make that intention. All right. Alright, I'm satisfied with that. So now what I'm going to do is a little bit of milk at a time. I'll add half a cup at first, and then I'll whisk it in. And this is just more time to get to know your bread, your goddess, the season of the year. Right now we are coming up on Samhain. We're coming up on Mabon shortly. So this will go in my garden eventually. Right? Okay, so you see how wet and crumbly that is? How it's sticking together in the whisk? This is perfect. So it's a good thing I didn't add that full cup of milk. But it depends on the humidity in your area. You know what I mean. Again, we are not eating this. The honey has done the work for us. So what I'm going to do now is just get those little granules off the bottom with my fingers. There There is still some powder at the bottom, but that's not a problem. And I'm going to drink that milk, actually. Alright, see how it's in basically a perfect ball now? Like it moves along as I push it. That is what I want. I'm not too worried about the stickiness on my fingers. Just gonna let it happen. Okay. Now my oven is still not quite to temperature, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up and I'll be right back. Okay, so now the oven is to temperature, so what I've done is I've taken it out. It is very, very hot. This is not traditional yeast rising Viking bread that I make, so this does not have to be as hot as the oven. It just needs to be warm enough to get the process started, okay? That's a different video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my bread now. It's still in the ball. And with the bay leaves, I've separated 3 of them already. And you can write an intention in these if you choose. I have not, but I don't feel the need to do so at this time. And I'm just going to push these into the base of the bread. And this is going to go bay leaf side down. And traditionally what this would have done is protected the bread from the heat of the hearth in which the bread was being baked on. That adds extra meaning for our intention, for us as witches and pagans. But it's not necessarily anything to do with protecting our bread from the fire in this time period, because we don't use hearths. We use ovens. But here we go. And okay. And just set that nicely in there, and then I'll show you briefly what it looks like. Okay, and then we'll be back when this is done and cooling off. We're about to discover if this bread is ready. Yes, okay. It's browning on the outside, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it back in the oven for another 5 minutes with everything off, and then it'll be nice and crispy to the touch at the top. Alright, so after about 5 more minutes in the oven, this is what it looks like. Nice and crispy. We're just going to wait for it to cool off, and then we'll dress it up nice. And from here, all I'm going to do is, if you already have rocks you want to push in here, or you bake them in there already, that's fine. But the final step now is just to drizzle it with some honey. If you wanted to push a parchment into this bread at this time, now's the time to do it. You can stick a candle right in the middle and burn it down on your altar. And just like that, you have your honey bread. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.